The four of them had been friends since high school: Ryan, Lucas, Emma, and Josh. Every Friday night, they'd hit up old record shops, dive bars, or anywhere that screamed nostalgia. But that night, Lucas had found something different. A warehouse in Los Angeles was hosting a secret retro gamer meet, a place for collectors to buy, sell, and trade rare arcade cabinets from the 70s and 80s. Lucas grinned as they pulled up in his car. "Dude, some of these machines are so rare, they were pulled from the market after like a week. Who knows what we'll find?" Inside, the warehouse was dimly lit, buzzing with old CRT static and the worry hum of dozens of retro consoles. Neon lights glowed faintly along the walls. Rows of vintage arcade cabinets lined the floor. Pac-Man, Space Invaders, Frogger. But tucked away in the back, under a dusty black tarp, stood something different. The cabinet was matte black, unmarked, except for one name carved crudely into the wood in jagged letters. "No return." Ryan tilted his head. "Never heard of it." Josh, the tech geek of the group, squatted down and examined the machine's coin slot. "This thing looks old. It's like early 80s. No publisher logo. No serial number. That's not normal." Emma rubbed her arms. "Maybe there's a reason it's hidden." A vendor walked by and froze when he saw them. "You kids should stay away from that one," he warned. Back in 81, 3 kids vanished after playing it. Their names were wiped from school records. Even their families forgot them. Nobody knows who made it, but everyone knows what it does. Lucas smirked. "That's marketing bullshit." Ryan hesitated, then shrugged. "It's just a game, right? What's the worst that could happen?" Josh popped in a coin. The screen lit up instantly. The opening menu was simple: green text on a black background. "Welcome to No Return. Player 1. Begin." As soon as Josh hit start, the screen erupted into pulsating neon visuals. Strange shapes swirled violently, flashing between geometric mazes and unrecognizable symbols. The gameplay was bizarre. The joystick controlled a tiny white triangle navigating an endless tunnel. At first, it seemed random, but Emma noticed something strange. "These aren't random levels," she whispered. "That's our street. That's our block." The triangle on the screen was moving through a distorted version of their actual neighborhood, the layout unmistakable. Josh laughed nervously. "Okay, creepy, but kinda cool." Then the game spoke. A distorted voice rasped through the speakers, warped and low-pitched. "Choose the one." The screen displayed 4 faceless avatars lined up side by side. Ryan, trying to lighten the mood, joked, "Guess that's us." Josh selected his own avatar without hesitation. The screen glitched violently, colors fracturing into static. Suddenly, a sharp pop echoed, and the entire cabinet went dark. Josh stepped back, groaning. "Damn it, guess it's busted." But as they turned to leave, they noticed something horrifying. Josh's reflection was missing from the glass screen. Ryan's heart dropped. "Josh, look." He spun around, confused. "What?" Emma grabbed his arm, trembling. You don't have a reflection." Josh laughed nervously. "Okay, haha, nice try. I'm not falling for it." But when he looked into the arcade's mirrored wall, his face went pale. His reflection was gone. That night, they couldn't shake it off. Back at Ryan's apartment, they sat in silence, replaying everything. "Look, maybe it's a trick," Lucas said, finally, "like some kind of screen filter. That game's just messing with us." Josh didn't respond. He was sitting on the couch, silent, pale, his hands shaking. Around 2:14 a.m., Josh whispered, "I hear it." Emma blinked. "Hear what?" "It's a game," he said, clutching his head. "The sounds, the voices, they're in my ears." They turned on the lights, panicked, but there was nothing they could do. Josh's nose started bleeding. He staggered to the bathroom, locking the door behind him. Then the lights in the apartment flickered once, twice, and went out completely. When Ryan kicked open the bathroom door, Josh was gone. No blood, no sign he'd ever been there. His phone, his clothes, even his wallet, all gone. And when Lucas scrolled through his contacts, Josh's number had vanished. Even his Instagram was wiped clean, as if Josh had never existed. The next morning, Ryan called the warehouse vendor, demanding answers. The man's voice trembled on the phone. "You touched it, didn't you?" Ryan snapped. "What the hell is that thing?" The vendor exhaled shakily. Back in the 80s, the CIA was testing experimental software on kids. They built a game, an interface designed to map human memories. But something went wrong. It didn't just read your memories, it rewrote them. Emma covered her mouth, whispering, "Oh my God." They shut down the program. The man continued, "Destroyed every unit. At least, they thought they did. But if you found one," he hesitated, "then it's still active." Ryan gritted his teeth. "How do we get Josh back?" The man paused. "You don't. Once the system selects a player, there's no return." That night, Lucas insisted on going back to the warehouse. He thought if they beat the game, they could undo whatever had happened. When they arrived, the warehouse was empty. The cabinets gone, the lights off, silent. But at the very back, under that same black tarp, the machine was waiting. Ryan stepped forward, his hand trembling, and dropped in a coin. The screen lit up instantly. Player 2 began. The moment the game started, the distorted voice returned, deeper, harsher than before. "1 is gone. 3 remain." Tunnels spiraled on the screen, symbols flashing faster than they could process. Ryan gripped the joystick, sweat dripping down his forehead. Lucas and Emma stood behind him, holding their breath. Then the game spoke again. "Choose the next." Ryan froze. The 4 faceless avatars appeared again, but Josh's was gone now. Only 3 remained. Emma screamed, "Don't pick anyone. Quit the game." Ryan tried, but the joystick wouldn't move backward. The buttons jammed. The machine locked him in. The game made the choice for him. The screen flashed violently, and Emma collapsed to the floor, her body convulsing. Within seconds, she stopped moving. Ryan screamed her name, shaking her shoulders, but she wasn't dead. She was fading. Her body turned translucent, her features dissolving into nothing until she was gone completely. Her phone fell to the ground. It was empty. No contacts, no photos, no evidence Emma had ever existed. The screen blinked once more, the distorted voice whispering, "To down to remain." Ryan stumbled backward, his throat tightening. No. But Lucas was already gone. Ryan woke up hours later in his apartment, drenched in sweat, his heart pounding. For a moment, he thought it had all been a nightmare, until he opened his phone. Josh wasn't in his contacts. Neither was Emma. Neither was Lucas. Every group photo, every video, every memory, erased. Ryan dropped the phone, his hands trembling, and that's when he heard it. From his bedroom, the faint beep of an arcade cabinet powering on. Jefferson High School in Austin, Texas, was over 100 years old. The kind of place with creaky floorboards, drafty hallways, and rumors that had outlived generations of students. No one paid much attention to the whispers till they closed the entire basement off for renovations. The janitors sealed the doors with heavy chains, slapped on bright yellow warning signs, and installed padlocks that looked strong enough to guard a bank vault. But there was one thing that bothered the students most. Nobody had seen a single worker go in or come out. And then there were the sounds. Late at night, kids swore they heard scratching beneath the gym floor. Others said they heard voices, muffled, distorted, like dozens of people whispering at once. The administration brushed it off, saying it was just pipes, but everyone knew better. Ryan Sanchez, a senior with a knack for getting into trouble, decided to find out for himself. He wasn't alone. His best friend Zoe, her brother Carter, and their quiet classmate, Mia, joined him. "We're just gonna look," Ryan whispered as they crept down the dark hallway after school one Friday night. 5 minutes, tops, Carter muttered. "Yeah, just looking." That's exactly what idiots say before they disappear in horror movies. Zoe rolled her eyes but kept moving. They reached the basement door, the one tucked beneath the stairwell behind the gym. The heavy chains glimmered under the dim exit sign, but there was something none of them expected. The padlock was broken. The chains hung loose as if someone had opened them recently. Ryan glanced back at the group. "Guess renovations are over." Mia hesitated. "Or maybe we should leave." But Ryan pushed the door open anyway. The smell hit them first. Damp earth, mildew, and something metallic, almost like blood. The air was humid, thicker than it should have been. They clicked on their flashlights and stepped inside. The stairs were steep and narrow, descending into pitch-black silence. So he whispered, "Why would a school even need a basement this big?" Ryan scanned the walls. "This place is old. Back in the 40s, they used it as a bomb shelter." As they reached the bottom, the light from upstairs vanished behind them. The basement was sprawling, far bigger than any of them imagined. Pipes ran across the ceiling like veins, dripping water that echoed through the concrete halls. But there was something wrong. The walls were lined with doors, heavy, steel doors. Some were bolted shut. Others had tiny, square windows covered from the inside. On one of them, in faded red paint, a single word was scrawled. "Don't." Carter backed up. "Yeah, nope, I'm out." Before Ryan could argue, a faint sound drifted from deeper inside, whispering. Not one voice, not two, dozens. The group froze. Zoe clutched Ryan's arm. "Tell me you heard that." Ryan nodded slowly, then raised a finger to his lips. He crept forward, following the sound. Okay. Each step echoed softly against the cold concrete floor. As they turned a corner, they found an old, rusted gate leading into what looked like a sealed-off section of the basement. And behind it, movement. Dozens of shadows flickered, just out of reach. Mia whispered, "There are people down here." But Ryan shook his head. No. There was something off about the way the shadows moved. Jerky, unnatural, like they weren't walking, but twitching. Suddenly, the whisper stopped. The silence was worse than the sound. Then, from the darkness beyond the gate, something stepped forward. It was tall, thin, its skin stretched tight over its bones, pale and gray, its eyes glowing faintly white in the flashlight's beam. Its jaw opened slowly, impossibly wide, and from its throat came dozens of overlapping voices speaking in unison. "Leave." Panic hit instantly. Zoe grabbed Carter's hand. "Go now." They turned and bolted back toward the stairs, but the basement wasn't the same anymore. The halls twisted in ways they didn't remember. Corners looped back on themselves. The walls seemed to stretch, the ceiling lowering as the space warped around them. Mia screamed, pointing behind them. "It's following us." The creature's thin limbs scraped against the walls as it crawled unnaturally fast, moving on all fours like a spider, its glowing eyes locked on them. Ryan yanked open the first door he could find, shoving the others inside. They slammed it shut, panting in darkness. Inside the small room, their flashlights revealed something worse. Rows of old wooden desks, broken chalkboards, in the far corner, a pile of bones, small ones, child-sized. Zoe covered her mouth, fighting back a sob. What the hell happened down here? Before anyone could answer, Carter shined his light on the walls, covered in names, hundreds of them, carved deep into the concrete. At the very bottom, freshly scratched into the wall, were 4 new names. Their names. Ryan grabbed Zoe's arm. "We have to move, now." They burst out of the room and sprinted through the hallway, but the whispers returned. louder, surrounded them from every direction. Dozens of voices, chanting, overlapping, too distorted to understand. Then, suddenly, Mia stopped. She stood, frozen in place, her flashlight trembling in her hand. Ryan turned. "Mia, what are you?" Her head tilted sharply, unnaturally, like something inside her neck had snapped. Then she smiled. But it wasn't her smile. Mia spoke, her voice layered with dozens of others. "You shouldn't have come here." And just like that, every door in the basement slammed shut at once. The sound thundered through the halls. Mia's body went limp and collapsed to the ground. But before Ryan could reach her, she was dragged backward into the darkness by something unseen. Her screams echoed for only a moment, and then stopped. The three remaining friends stumbled toward the stairs, gasping for breath, but when they reached the door, it was gone. There was just a solid wall where the exit should have been. Carter started pounding his fists against the concrete. No, this was it. This was the door. Ryan grabbed his head, panic threatening to swallow him. And then the lights overhead began to flicker. One by one, each bulb bursting, plunging them deeper into darkness. In the stropping flashes, they saw movement. Dozens of pale figures emerging from the halls, crawling along the walls and ceiling. Their eyes glowed white, their mouths stretching open in silent screams. Zoe whispered, "Ryan." Ryan grabbed her hand. "Run." But there was nowhere left to go. Hours later, the principal filed a missing persons report for 4 students. By Monday, teachers noticed something strange. No one remembered Ryan, Zoe, Carter, or Mia. Their lockers were empty, their attendance records wiped clean. Their names were scratched off every yearbook. It was as if they never existed. And deep beneath Jefferson High, behind the chained basement door, the whispers began again. Emily Hayes had lived alone in her small New Jersey apartment for 2 years. It wasn't fancy, just a single bedroom place on the top floor of an aging brick building. But it was quiet, safe, and close to her job at the library. Or, at least, it used to feel safe. Started on a Tuesday morning when Emily woke up to find a new voicemail on her phone. That wasn't unusual. Her mom called often, and telemarketers never stopped. But when she checked the number, it said, "Unknown caller." She hit play. For the first few seconds, there was nothing, just static and faint distortion. And then she heard it. Slow, steady breathing. Not just any breathing. Her breathing. She froze. She recognized the rhythm. Uneven, shallow inhales she made only when she was asleep. Her first thought was that it was some kind of glitch. Maybe her phone had accidentally recorded her microphone overnight. Hey, but then she remembered something that made her stomach drop. She always put her phone on the kitchen counter before bed. That night, she laughed it off, telling herself it was just a random tech error. But the next morning, there was another voicemail. Again, unknown caller. This time, she heard faint whispers in the background, too muffled to understand, but definitely there. Then, right before the recording ended, she heard something worse. A low, guttural voice, rasping 3 quiet words. "She's still asleep." Emily's chest tightened. She replayed the voicemail at least 20 times, but no matter how she adjusted the volume, she couldn't make out anything else. She called Verizon. They insisted there was no evidence of a hacked line, no spoofing, nothing unusual at all. That night, she locked every window, checked the doors twice, and left her bedroom light on. By Friday, Emily was barely sleeping. Her eyes burned from exhaustion, and she jumped at the smallest noises. That morning, there were 2 new voicemails. She sat at the edge of her bed, pressing the phone to her ear. The first was just her breathing again, except this time, it wasn't even. It sounded panicked, shallow, like she was having a nightmare. The second voicemail started the same way, till she heard something move, a creaking sound with shifting underweight. Her bedroom floor, then a quiet shuffle, like bare feet dragging across the carpet, and finally, whispering, "It's much closer this time. Don't wake her." Emily's stomach twisted. Her whole body went numb. She was gripping the phone so tightly her knuckles went white. She scanned her room, heart hammering, but everything looked normal. Still, she dragged a chair against the door, just in case. That night, Emily set up an old baby monitor she'd borrowed from a friend. One half stayed in her bedroom, the other on the nightstand next to her bed. Around 3:17 a.m., she woke up to a soft click coming through the monitor, like the sound of someone adjusting the microphone. She sat up, straining to listen. A faint shuffling sound, then breathing, not hers, lower, heavier. Emily reached for her phone with trembling hands, but before she could dial 911, the monitor emitted a soft, broken whisper. Emily, she froze. Whoever it was knew her name. She ripped the batteries out of the monitor, sat in silence until sunrise, and left the apartment without looking back. By Saturday afternoon, she was staying at her friend Danielle's place across town. Danielle didn't believe her at first, thought she was overtired, paranoid. But Emily shoved her phone into Danielle's hands and told her to listen. Danielle pressed play on the latest voicemail. A few seconds of static. Emily's breathing, then the same deep voice, whispering words neither of them could make sense of. Danielle handed the phone back, her face pale. This isn't right." They agreed Emily wouldn't go back to the apartment that night, but that didn't stop the calls. At 2:04 a.m., Emily's phone buzzed again. Another voicemail. She hesitated, terrified to listen, but she did anyway. This one wasn't from her bedroom. It was outside. The sound of distant traffic, wind, and then, faintly, Danielle's voice, asleep in the other room. Followed by heavy breathing, Emily dropped the phone, her hands shaking violently. Whatever was doing this, had followed her. By Sunday, Emily couldn't stop crying. She barely ate, barely spoke. She filed a police report, but the officer didn't take her seriously. He suggested she change her number and get some rest. That night, Danielle insisted on staying up with her. They sat in the living room, lights on, scrolling through Emily's phone history over and over. Then, at exactly 3 a.m., it buzzed again. Danielle grabbed it first. "Don't listen to it, Em. Just delete." She stopped. Her face went blank. "Emily," she whispered. "The voicemail. It's right now." Emily frowned. "What?" Danielle turned the speaker on. And there it was. It's the sound of their own voices, crystal clear, from inside the living room. "Emily, don't listen to it, Em. Just delete." Followed by silence. Then, the unmistakable creak of Danielle's couch. Then, heavy breathing. Right behind them. Emily spun around so fast, she nearly fell off the couch. But the room was empty. No one was there. Danielle was shaking. "We need to get out of here, now." They grabbed their keys and ran to the parking lot. But when Emily unlocked her car, her stomach dropped. On the hood was her phone. She'd left it inside. The screen lit up on its own, showing a new voicemail notification. Danielle screamed, "Don't." But Emily couldn't help herself. She pressed play. This time, there was no breathing, no whispers, just a single voice, deep and distorted, like 100 voices layered on top of each other. "Stop running." Emily hasn't been seen since. Danielle swears she never let go of her friend's hand as they sprinted toward the car, but halfway across the lot, Emily was gone. No sound, no scream, no trace. Police searched the entire property, drained nearby storm drains, even combed through security footage, but there was nothing. Her voicemail box, though, kept receiving new recordings. All of them from the same unknown number, and in every single one, there's breathing. Steady, calm, like Emily's asleep somewhere.